Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us this morning. I am Kate DeCesare. I am a Green Business Advisor with Washington County's Green Business Leaders Program, and today we're discussing transportation with the Westside Transportation Alliance. So we can use the chat for some introductions if you'd like. So if you're interested, please share your name, your organization, and your favorite day trip from the Washington County area. And my colleague Jennifer is going to add her into the chat to start the conversation, and you can use hers as an example. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. So please keep your mic muted. You can turn your camera on or off. And if you have questions throughout the presentations, you can put those in the chat box, and we will have time to answer those later. For best viewing, we recommend using the side-by-side mode or docking the video participants to either the side or the bottom of your screen. And my email address is there on the screen in blue, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions or feedback. And we will be sending out a PDF of the presentation to all attendees after the event today. Spanish interpretation is available. And to hear this presentation in Spanish, you'll click on the interpretation link that's in the bottom right of your Zoom toolbar. And you'll have the option to click and join the Spanish interpretation room. And you're welcome to go back and forth between the rooms as you wish. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I will turn it over to Caitlin to kick it off.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okie dokie. So hopefully you should all see my presentation now. I am with the Westside Transportation Alliance, as Kate said. My name is Caitlin Ahern, and I am the program manager, and I am so happy to be here today to speak with you all. So first, I want to do a little poll to see who has, who's familiar with us or who's heard of WTA. So Kate's going to get that up. All right, so basically, have you heard of the Westside Transportation Alliance? So check to see if you've never heard of it, or yes, you've heard of it, but my workplace is not a member. We're a membership-based organization. I've heard of it and my workplace is a member, or if you're not sure, that's fine too. So we'll give everybody a little bit of time to respond. Okie dokie. Ooh, looks like we have a lot of members on the call. That's exciting. So we've got 33%, I've never heard of it, and that's fine because I'm going to talk all about it. And then 67% say I've heard of it and my workplace is a member. So yay, thanks for being a member and welcome. Close this on my end. Okay, so first I want to talk a little bit about me. I am, as I said, the program manager at WTA. I've been here for about 2 years. And sustainability is my jam. So I don't have like a strict transportation background, but I do have a sustainability and behavior change background. And so that's where I'm coming from. I'm a former AmeriCorps member. I did AmeriCorps for 2 years. One of those years was with Washington County with the recycling program. And so I'm kind of familiar with the work that these folks do, and it's really great work. My second year was with City of Gresham, also recycling. And then after that, I still worked in recycling for another couple of years with the state and with the city of Beaverton and a little bit with Portland Community College with their sustainability program. So I've kind of been all over. And then I joined WTA. And I have degrees in physics and sustainable engineering. And it's kind of funny where life takes you because I don't really do physics anymore, but that's okay. I really enjoy the work I do now. And originally I'm from New Hampshire, little old New Hampshire, but I've been in Portland for about 6.5 years, which has flown by. It feels like I have not been here for 6.5 years. That's so long. Okay, and who are we? We are the Westside Transportation Alliance, or WTA, and we are a TMA, so more letters. That stands for Transportation Management Association. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in the next slide. But we are a private nonprofit, and we work with our members. We have member businesses that pay us dues, and we encourage employees' behavior change for commute trips. by providing information, incentives, and assistance about transportation options, which include transit, bicycling, walking, carpooling, teleworking, van pool, anything pretty much besides driving by yourself. And so that's a mouthful, but mainly what we do is we work with our member businesses to do programming to encourage employees to make sustainable commute choices. So, commuting by anything besides driving alone, as I said, and teleworking counts. Teleworking's great. And our work is made possible with support from Oregon Metro and the Federal Transit Administration. We get a grant from Metro, and that's how we're able to do the work we do. So as I said, we are a TMA, which is Transportation Management Association. And this is going to be another mouthful. It's an organized group applying carefully selected approaches to facilitating the movement of people and goods within an area. So basically, the organized group is us. So we're the organization, and we are applying carefully selected approaches. That is the services we provide in exchange for the dues that our members pay us. So that's the information, incentive programs, anything like that. And facilitating the movement of people and goods within an area, we work with commutes. And like I said, we're trying to encourage sustainable commuting. But different TMAs do all sorts of different things. It's all around transportation, and it's all trying to, most of them are trying to encourage sustainable travel. A couple of examples locally are Go Lloyd, which are another organization in the Lloyd district of Portland, and they work with both businesses and residents, and we work with businesses. And then Explore Washington Park works with people visiting Washington Park, also in Portland, and both of them encourage people to not drive alone. But there are, around the country, there are plenty of TMAs that are either nonprofits or part of government agencies or whatever, doing all sorts of different work. So it's pretty broad. And this is our team. You see me in the middle. I'm the program manager, as I said. We have Jeff Pasdowski, who is our executive director, and Maddie Billings, who is our communication and program coordinator. So as you can see, we have a pretty small team. Once in a while, we will, hire a temp contractor or, work with some PSU students or something if we need some extra hands, but mostly it's just us. And it's actually really great because we can be pretty nimble and flexible and kind of, do a lot of experimenting because we just have to, as a group and with the organization that we're working with, agree that we want to try something, and then we can just do it. And then if it doesn't work, we can try something else. And we don't have to, coming from government, nothing wrong with government, but there are layers of approvals you need to go through, and we can just do stuff, and it's great. So if you a lot of times we'll do like pilot programs for our members because we can just go ahead and try something out and then see how it works. And then if it goes well, the member can decide to do that as a longer term program. So we can kind of be your experimenters. And here's all our members. As you can see, we have members all over the county. We have corporations, we have governments, we have nonprofits, and we have both paid members that pay us dues for services, and we also have affiliate members that we do similar work and we work together kind of for mutual benefit. So if you're a member on the call, thank you for being a member, and we're so happy to have you. And if you want to be a member and you want your logo up there, just let me know and I'll be happy to talk about it. All right, so like I said, we work with commutes and we're encouraging people to have sustainable commutes. And next I want to talk about why do we care about commutes? Because it's not technically part of the workday. And so as an employer, why should you care about how your employee is getting to work? Well, 50% of employees say that their commute is stressful, and arriving to work stressed negatively impacts health, engagement, and productivity. So even though the commute isn't technically a part of the workday, it is still affecting people at work. They're not doing as good of a job if they're arriving to work stressed because of a bad commute. 23% of employees have voluntarily left a job because of a bad commute. So the way that your employee gets to work might cause you to lose them if it's a bad commute. So providing commute benefits and helping your employees find a better way to commute can help you with retention, which could save you money, because replacing an employee can be very expensive and time consuming. So you really want to keep your employees. So this could help. And looking at sustainability, greenhouse gas emissions from transportation account for 28% of total US greenhouse gas emissions. And this makes it the largest contributor of US greenhouse gas emissions. Now, this doesn't just include commutes, it's everything. It's recreational trips, it's moving goods around, it's traveling, and it's commutes. So, but still, commuting is a big part of it. So that's travel that a lot of people do every single day. And if you can influence how people get to work every single day, then you can make a really big difference. And if sustainability is a big part of what your company, prides itself on, then working with commutes can make a big difference, and it's great. Yeah. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about encouraging folks to commute by a sustainable mode, and that involves behavior change. So changing habits, creating a new habit, leaving an old habit behind. And behavior change is complicated. It's a big subject, it's complicated, it's difficult. And that's what we do. So I want to talk a little bit about some basic concepts in behavior change. So this chart is called the trans-theoretical model of change, which is a bunch of big words, but it basically means these are the stages that a person will go through when they are deciding to change a habit. And it's all going to make pretty much intuitive sense, but it's just putting names to each of these stages. And so the first one is pre-contemplation, and that's pretty much, you're doing what you're doing. You have no intention of changing your behavior, and you're not interested in changing your behavior. I'm going to use as an example for the rest of this graph, switching from driving to work by yourself to biking to work. So you're just driving to work, you're fine with it, you don't care about changing at all, it works for you. You have other things to worry about besides changing your commute, and that's fine. So that's pre-contemplation, no intention of changing behavior. So then at some point you might decide, maybe I should bike to work. Maybe that would be good for me. I don't like sitting in traffic. I'd rather be outside on my bike because, I just bought a bike and I think it's fun. And so then you'll move into contemplation, and that's where you're aware a problem or something you want to change exists. You don't have a commitment to action yet, but you're thinking about it. Maybe you've read that, that people who bike to work arrive happier, or you want to, work on you want to exercise more. For me personally, I like having my exercise, being a part of my, getting somewhere routine. And so if I'm going to spend so much time getting to work, might as well have that be my exercise. So that's in contemplation. You're just like kind of thinking about it. And then at some point you'll decide, okay, I'm going to do this. And that's when you move into preparation. And that's where your intent on taking action, and you're making some preparations for when you're actually going to take action. So maybe you're fixing up your bike, maybe you're buying some gear, or you're kind of like looking into like what kind of backpack do people use when they're commuting, all that stuff. Like, what's your route? You want to plan your route out. So that's all preparation. And then one day you decide to just do it. So then you're moving into action. So you're actually doing it. You're modifying your behavior. You're biking to work. Awesome. Maybe it's going well, maybe it's not going well. And then you learn, but basically you're doing it. And then at some point, maybe it'll become a habit, and then you move into maintenance. That is sustained change. New behavior replaces the old behavior. You have a new habit, basically, congratulations, you did it. So that's an exciting place to be. And then maybe something happens where you relapse, that's the next one, and you fall back into your old habit, you start driving to work again. Maybe it gets smoky outside, or maybe it starts raining and you don't have great rain gear, or you just don't like biking in the rain, that's fine. Maybe you get a flat tire, or like something on your bike breaks, whatever. Something happens and you go back to driving, and that's called relapse. And then maybe at some point you'll go back into pre-contemplation or contemplation, and constantly. So by the way, this isn't like a one-way street. So you'll be constantly moving back and forth, probably. You might go from, driving every day to thinking maybe you should bike and then not caring anymore. You might bike once and then decide you didn't like it or whatever, and you go back to preparation and you want to change something. So you're kind of going back and forth throughout the whole thing. And you might notice also this little spiral in the middle. And that says upward spiral, learn from each relapse. And that says that every time you try it, and if it doesn't work out, or if it does, you're going to learn. And so if you try one day and you are just like, wearing your regular coat and then you get all sweaty and hot and it's not fun, maybe you'll learn that didn't work out. Maybe I'm going to wear something else. Maybe I want like more breathable clothing or something. Anyway, you're learning the whole time. And so as a practitioner, or as an employer, or as a manager, there are certain things you can do if you want to target people in each of these stages. So I'll give some examples of in pre-contemplation. If you want to just make people aware that driving uses a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, is not great for the environment, maybe isn't fun because you're sitting in traffic, you can do some awareness campaigns to get people thinking and maybe move them into the contemplation of, maybe I want to change. In contemplation, you can look at addressing barriers and looking at what kind of infrastructure is around, what kind of benefits, and do you have locker rooms, things like that. Because that's when you're in contemplation, you're going to be thinking of a lot of reasons not to do the thing. And so you might be like, oh, I'm going to be sweaty, we don't have showers, or oh, I don't know where to park my bike, or I don't think I have a good route, or it doesn't seem safe around. So you want to knock down all those no's. So if you're removing barriers, there's more reasons to keep going onto preparation. And in preparation, you can be giving out some free tools. You can help with route planning, give out some free lights, anything that helps people get going on the thing that they want to do is really nice. And this is, by the way, all stuff that we do. So we can all help with all of this stuff if this sounds complicated. Okay, and then once people are going, you can provide some rewards. You can provide incentives. Basically like, good job, you're doing the thing, well done, and we want you to keep going. And then next, once they're already doing the thing that you want them to do, or if they already are and you don't have to change anything, that's the place where you can have like leadership programs or like team captains or champions, where you're rewarding the people who are already doing an awesome job and showing them that you appreciate them and giving them a chance to kind of lead other employees. And then if people fall back, if things don't work out for people, we want to know why. And so in this relapse stage, you can ask for feedback, you can have surveys, you can find out what isn't working for people so that you can figure out how to change. All right, so I want to talk about one more thing, which I think is especially relevant right now, and that's the fresh start effect. And so the fresh start effect is basically like, you have a new beginning, and it's easier for us to form a new habit or break an old habit when we see it as part of a bigger overall fresh start, new beginning. So that's why we have all these like New Year's resolutions, going into the school year. we feel really great, you know, it's a new start. And you might be thinking, okay, New Year's resolutions, fine, they don't last, which is fine. It's still a little nudge, it still makes you feel better, but the research shows that the most effective times to form a new habit or to leave an old one behind is when you're moving, when you start a new job, and when you're having a baby. So what all these things have in common is they are big life changes. I have a good friend who smoked cigarettes for years, tried to quit, didn't really work. And then he ended up getting a new job in a brand new city. So that's big life changes. He met his now husband right away. So it was like his whole life was different. And also he decided that he wanted to quit smoking. And so, and it was stuck. Like that time it stuck because it was part of like a new city, a new job, a new life. It was everything. So it can be really powerful because, as I'm sure you know, quitting smoking is very difficult. So this can be real powerful. And right now, if we look at the past year, we've been in this pandemic. And hopefully in this country, we are starting to come out of it, knock on wood, fingers crossed. But this could be a big change if you have employees that have been working from home. A lot of people have still been commuting every day, but if we look at the people who have been working from home, and if you want to bring them back, that's going to be a big change in their life that they need to get used to. And so that is an audience that it could benefit from this fresh start effect. So that would be a great group of people to target with encouraging people to do some sustainable commuting. So the fresh start effect, that's something that I want you to remember. And maybe you're thinking this is a lot of information and it's very complicated, and that is understandable. That is why there's a whole field of people working on this behavior change stuff. But luckily you have us, we can help. Like I said, we have some expertise in this field, and we are happy to help you out. So I'm going to talk about why you should work with us if you aren't already. And if you are already, hopefully this will be some good positive reinforcement. So our membership is low cost because we are a nonprofit. So compared to some like consulting firms and everything doing the same work, we are pretty cost effective, I would say. It's low effort because we're doing the stuff for you. We want to make it as low effort as possible with some like turnkey plug and play stuff that we can run on your behalf because that's what we like doing. We have expertise in behavior change and sustainable commutes, as I have talked about. As I have also talked about, we love trying new things, which is fun. We can be your experimenters and see what works and what doesn't. And we can also provide networking and training opportunities. We have workshops for our transportation coordinators and for employees. So you can meet some cool new people, hopefully in person one day, but for now virtually. You can get some networking and training in. All right, so what I did here is I grabbed the Green Business Leaders Transportation Practices page. So these are all the check boxes that you did when you wanted to become a green business leader, or that you will do when you want to become a green business leader if you are not already. And so we can help with all of this, yay! Because that's what we do. So specifically, I want to call out a few of these. We do surveying, so number 46 on that checklist is 20% or more of our employees bike, walk, carpool, or take transit. And 47 is an annual commute survey is conducted as part of promoting low carbon commuting. And we do that. So you also, if you are an employer that is 100 or more employees, you already have to do an eco survey, which stands for Employee Commute Options. And that's through the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. They have an eco rule that you have to survey every 2 years. And we do that on behalf of a lot of our members. And so if you increase that to every year, then you can check off number 47. And if 20% of people say that they do the right things, Then you can check off number 46. And then this is just an example. Don't worry about like, you know, all the numbers and stuff. I know it's small and hard to read, but this is just an example of a visual we can provide based on the results of eco surveys or whatever surveys. So this particular employee or employer, sorry, pretty much just squeaks by with 20% because 80% of trips were drive alone. So this is something we do. Another thing we do is exclusive incentive programs. So this can cover number 48, which is reimbursement, raffles, or other incentives are offered to employees that bike, walk, or carpool to work. And number 50, which is employees participate in a commuter challenge every year, which can include the Bike More Challenge, Oregon Get There Challenge, etc. And so we have our own programs, which are Commute Champions and Commuter Kickbacks. These are ones that we do for everybody. Commute Champions is actually brand new. We're launching that this month, so keep an eye out for that. And that's for employees of all of our members. And it's a rewards program. So anyone who logs a certain number of trips that are not driving alone, including teleworking counts, then you'll automatically earn some prizes. And you know, leading up to becoming, you can become a commute champion and earn some exclusive perks and prizes and stuff like that. And then we also have our commuter kickbacks program, which is a raffle. It's a monthly raffle. And that's actually for anyone who lives or works in Washington County. So you don't have to be a member, but we do have greater chances of winning if you are a member. And then as far as statewide challenges, the Get There Challenge is for anyone in the state. So it's not just WTA, but we do, it's every October, and you log trips on getthereoregon.org, which I'll talk about. I have a whole slide on that later. So if you don't remember that, don't worry. But it's every October, and it's a challenge to encourage folks to commute sustainably and log their trips and win prizes. And we have extra prizes for our members. And also with the Bike More Challenge, that is a statewide challenge run by the Street Trust. So you don't have to be a member to participate, but we do, again, have extra support and extra prizes. We work with the team captains on each of our member teams, or member worksite teams, team captains. We have training, and we can work with them to do some extra stuff for their employees. Okay, and just a few more examples of what we do. With a big thing that we're proud of is with Columbia Sportswear. We had bike share running for about 3 years. We didn't do it last year because of COVID, unfortunately, but it's been a great success every other year. So it's for employees of the Amber Glen Call Center, which is a smaller work site for Columbia near, it's about a mile from a Max stop, a mile and a half. And we were looking at it as like a last mile solution. So if people take the Max to work and then have to walk an entire mile, that's kind of far. But if you can bike, that is a lot quicker. So we set up bikes both at the work site and at the Max stop. And people could use them to get to and from the Max. You could also use it to go out during the workday to get lunch or do errands or whatever. And it was pretty easy. You just, you didn't even need like a smartphone. You just texted a certain number and you got the combination to a combination lock. And people really liked it. So we had, you know, majority of people that used it said that they felt it was a great addition to the workplace. It made them a better worker. They felt good about it. And even half of people that didn't participate at all, that had nothing to do with the program, half of them said that they noticed that this program made the workplace a better place. And so it was great for everybody. So that's something we can do. And we're also working on a bike loan program with one of our members right now. And that's where people can check out an e-bike for a month at a time. So you can use it for any sort of trip, for getting to work, for getting groceries, for just going on a fun ride, whatever you want for an entire month. And And the way they're kind of doing it is like a try before you buy situation. So they saw that a lot of their employees were interested in e-bikes, but they didn't want to make the financial commitment if they didn't know that they were going to like it or not. And so this is kind of, you can try it out for a month and see if it's a good fit. And then we also worked with another bike organization to get financing available so they can purchase a bike through this certain platform and get financing so they don't have to pay all up front. And so that helps address another barrier. So that's exciting. We can also have tables at employee fairs, either in person when we can do that again, or virtually to just, chat with folks and give away, some free lights or information or whatever. We can run employee workshops. We've done that in the past. Bike stuff, bike rights, or, friendly driver program, things like that, whatever you want. We can do more custom incentive programs. If you want to, do some extra raffles or rewards programs at work, we can work with you on that. We can design some marketing materials for you, either like digital or paper, postcards, whatever, to encourage people to, do a certain commute behavior. So really, it's anything you want. I really like just chatting with people and just seeing what they need, or, figuring out how we can incorporate some transportation stuff into an employee satisfaction survey to see like what people want or what people will be interested in. So like I say, we're very flexible and we can just do whatever you want. Okay, and if you're not a member yet, that's okay. You should be, because we're awesome, but it's fine. Like I said, our commuter kickbacks program is open to anyone that lives or works in Washington County. You do not have to be a member. You do have better chances of winning if you are. And that you just log trips on getthereoregon.org. Well, if you do .com, it'll take you there, but it's .org. Apologies for the typo. And you'll be entered into our monthly raffles. And here's a little bit more about Get There Oregon. So it's a statewide online platform. It's a website where you can go and log all of your commute trips. And if you log non-drive alone trips, you can win with our commuter kickbacks. Like I said, this is how you would participate in the Get There Challenge in October. So that's to win also like statewide prizes, and we have extra prizes. You can also just, if you wanna like just track your commute behavior and see how you're doing, and how much, if you're not driving, you can see how much greenhouse gas that you're saving, how much you're not emitting. You can see how much money you're saving, how many calories you burned. There's like a leaderboard thing where you can kind of compete with other people around the state, which is fun. So I recommend checking it out. It's free to sign up. You can, it has carpool matching, which is another big thing there if you want to match up with a carpool near you. So I recommend checking it out. If you're an employer, you can have, if you don't already have an employer network on getthereoregon.com, you can make one, and you can use that to do some employee programming. You can kind of see how people are commuting if they're logging their trips. It could help you with eco surveys. You can do some challenges. There's a lot you can do with it. So it's a great website. Okay, and that's all I have. This is my contact information. Caitlin, CAITLIN at WTA-TMA.org. And I welcome any questions. Thanks for having me. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Caitlin. That was awesome. There's so much great info. And I just want to remind everybody, you can put questions in the chat box, or if you'd like to unmute now, we have a small enough group that you're welcome to do that as well. And so I have a question. I know you touched on this earlier, but the pilot programs that you mentioned earlier, and just you had kind of mentioned that because you're a small group, you can kind of be innovative. And I was just curious, I know you touched on some examples, but do you have any other like fun or innovative examples of some pilot projects that you've done recently?
Ooh, man, the top of mind is the bike loan program because we're kind of getting that ramped up. Um, and that was kind of like it was a collaboration between it's us and our member site and Washco Bikes, which is a nonprofit bike shop out in Hillsboro, and they do a lot of like bike programming. So there are like bike maintenance shop, and are gonna run some like orientation classes and be support for that. And then the financing was going to be through Bikes Make Life Better, which is a larger like kind of consulting group that does a lot of bike work with a lot of big companies. And so that's been really interesting and exciting. Just like I really like collaborating with other organizations. So like working with Washco Bikes has been really great because we do, similar stuff, but different actual work within the field. So that's been really exciting. If any, I think my coworkers are on if they want to type anything or say anything that I'm forgetting, but that's the main thing that's on the top of my mind at the moment.
Super cool. And you shared a lot of other great examples too. I want to pause a sec and see if any coworkers want to add anything.
No pressure.
Informal. Yeah, no pressure. But all right. Oh, I see a camera. Okay.
Hi, I can chime in. So my name is Jeff. I work with Caitlin. I was just thinking of another example. We did, this was obviously pre-COVID, but we worked with one of our members who wanted to test the impact of providing transit passes to their employees as a way to reduce their auto trip rate. And so we really worked with them in terms of doing the surveying and the evaluation on the pilot. So kind of ran some pre-surveys and post surveys, and what that employer found was that their transit trip rate just about doubled as a result of that. And so they decided to, based on that and then some other feedback they had received, they decided to continue providing the transit passes to their employees. So it was a good success.
Definitely. Well, and it seems like you make it super easy. All the logistics coordination of like getting that information and analyzing the results and everything. So I can see how that's a huge benefit. Awesome. And we did have another question in the chat. So are there any Sunday Parkway-like events that occur on the West Side?
Oh, that's a good question. I know we don't run any, but I do know, I'm going to pick Beaverton. Beaverton has a Bike Beaverton event that is like kind of a Sunday Parkways. I don't think they did it last year because of COVID, but they did provide like on their website some good routes that you could do yourself. But it's kind of like Sunday Parkways where like they pick a nice like residential route around the city, and then you can bring your family, and there's like tables and there's free stuff, and it's exciting. I know Pedalpalooza, folks in Portland might be more familiar with Pedalpalooza. It's usually every June, and that's it's not really one organized ride, but it's a lot of organized rides, organized by just like anyone can post something on their calendar, and it's like, you can dress up in costume. I went to one that was Galactic Disco, which is it's like space and disco, and they play music, and you just like, bike around the city, which is really fun. And this year they're doing, it's like I think it's June, July, and August, and they do have things out on the West Side. So if you can just Google Pedalpalooza, it's probably like pedalpalooza.org or something. And they don't, so I think they don't have like, they have usually every year like giant rides, and they probably won't have the big giant ones again, but you can check that out because I know they're trying to do more stuff on the West Side. So if you have a good idea for a themed bike ride and you want to post that on the calendar, that would help them get into Washington County. And if anybody else knows of more, I am open. I would love to know more. I know there are like THPRD, I think, does some. That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Nice. And I saw that Jeff added in the chat too that Washco Bikes did have some plans for events like that, but COVID interrupted a lot of things last year, and this is one of them. So hopefully we see that pick back up again in the future. Does anybody else have any questions? I just want to give space for other folks to unmute or type any questions into the chat.
I'm also going to put my email address in the chat. Make sure I spelled it right. If you have any other questions,
Awesome.
feel free to email me.
Awesome. Well, and I just have one more question, and then we'll see if anything else comes in. But you had mentioned workshops and networking, and I was just kind of curious if you could chat just a little bit more about like what that looks like.
So we've done both employee workshops, and also we call our contacts at our member website or our member work sites ETCs, employee transportation coordinators, and that's whoever that doesn't necessarily have to be like a dedicated transportation coordinator. It is maybe someone in HR or sustainability or whoever is working with employee commutes. And so we have events for them. One example of an employee workshop that we did recently was a bike workshop. One of our board members is an avid cyclist and really loves to talk about it. And so we had him do a Zoom, like a virtual workshop on like the basics, like biking 101, like when you want to start bike commuting, here's some things to think about. Here's like different types of bikes, answering questions, things like that. And it went great. And then an example of, an ETC workshop, our last in-person ETC workshop that we had was on incentive programs. And we had talked about our new Commute Champions program that we were still kind of planning, and we got some feedback on that from the ETCs. And then we had actually someone from Washington County come and talk about an employee, the Be Safe, Be Seen campaign, where they gave out, different like light up stuff for like pedestrian safety. And they talked about like what kind of things that they had given away that employees liked. And so, spending your money wisely, if you're trying to like give away stuff, giving away stuff that is useful and isn't just going to be like, oh, cool, another, whatever that's going to go in the trash or whatever. Where, thinking sustainability, we want to give away useful things. And then someone else from Tired had talked about, she works in HR and talked about their PTO giveaway program. So they reward people for commuting by giving them PTO, which is really cool. So we can kind of like hear from like what other people are doing. And then we also talk about our programs, and then, you can talk with each other. So it's fun usually.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I know it's kind of intimidating sometimes to start biking. So just to have all of like the safe space to ask your questions, get the tips and that sort of stuff is really helpful for sure. I did see another question come in. So Jennifer asked if you could talk a little bit about the WTA memberships and level of cost. And is the membership based on total amount of employees, or is it tiered? Or if you could just speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our membership is based on, generally it's based on how many employees you have. So larger employers pay more than very small employers. And that's because we feel like it reflects the amount of work. If we're doing work for like a gigantic company, it takes a little more work. And also to hopefully make it a little more affordable for smaller businesses. And then we also, if we talk about, like if you want to do extra programming, like the bike share program was an additional cost because it's additional work for us. So it's kind of also like, it's a base membership level and also kind of some a la carte stuff, we can, and that's based on, what you can afford, what we think it'll cost. I think it's affordable. And also if you feel like you can't afford a membership, we can chat. We're open to talking. And if you're interested, talk to me. We can talk about the cost.
Awesome. And so I lied, I have one more question. Your Commute Champions, the new program, how can folks kind of get the latest info or hear about that when it's ready? Like your social media, email newsletter, or what's the best way?
Yes, all of that. So if you are a member and if you're on our contact list, then I will be emailing you with the details and like a communications toolkit. And also, if you sign up for our newsletter, we'll have the latest info in that. And also, we have a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's all at WTA Oregon for all of them. So you can also follow that or email me, whatever. It'll be soon. It's coming out soon.
Nice. And as a reminder, we'll be sending out a follow-up email to everybody with a PDF of the presentation, and we can go ahead and include some of those links as well. So you'll be able to just follow or sign up right from that email. And so we're a little bit early, which is totally fine, but before we wrap it up, I wanted to pause for another second, give anybody else a minute for last question.
I did add our handle to the chat. If you want to check us
Thank
out.
you so much. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here and wrap us up.
Thank you so much. I was so happy to be here. This was great.
Yeah, we really enjoyed having you. And thank you all for joining today. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to share just a quick reminder about some of the free resources and the technical assistance that we offer. So we're doing contactless delivery still, and we offer our free internal recycling bins, food scraps collection bins, as well as our posters, decals, and other resources to help your business recycle right. We can also help with your hauler if you need any service level changes or anything like that. And we have our Green Business Award that Caitlin mentioned earlier. And so we're doing virtual certifications for now. And we're here to help whenever you need us. And just wanted to do one more thank you to our presenter, Caitlin, and the Westside Transportation Alliance team. Thank you to our interpreter, Aurello, and thank you all for attending. So make sure that you're following us on Facebook and signed up for our newsletter to hear about future events. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.